let's move on. Baldwin, this is really stunning. So we were tracking this case very closely. We know there's a lot of public interest, and there's also some very gross people who are trying to make jokes or whatever. Look, like a young woman died here, and that's actually the real story. And the more that comes out from the sheriff's office down in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, the more questions that are raised. Sheriff Mendoza of Santa Fe County gave a press conference yesterday. He revealed a couple of stunning things, I'll say just at the top. Number one, they are not ruling out charges for Alec Baldwin. Number two, they have recovered spent casings and the projectile that they believe to have been a live round, which was inserted inside of a revolver, which was what shot and killed that director of cinematography. Let's take a listen to what he said.
The actual lead projectile that was fired has been recovered from the shoulder of Mr. Souza. The projectile was recovered by medical personnel where he was being treated and turned over to the sheriff's office as evidence. We regard this specific spent casing and recovered projectile to be the live round that was fired from the revolver by Mr. Baldwin. We have recovered what we believe to be possible additional live rounds on set. All the previous mentioned items, along with other items of evidence, will be submitted to the FBI Crime Lab in Quantico, Virginia, for analysis.
What really sticks out to me there, Krystal, we have recovered other live rounds from the set. And so you and I were speaking before, and we know that the policy on these sets is supposed to be, not only do you never have a weapon with live ammunition, you never have live ammunition on the set, period. So not only was there live ammunition inside of this revolver, and actually some fans of the show were explaining to me, there's no way this could have been, I think it's no longer accidental discharge is the term, it's negligent discharge, because it's a revolver. You have to cock a gun.
Right.
You have to like physiologically get this thing to fire. And when you, again, just think about the mechanics. So you have this gun, which is sitting there. That means that somebody opened the gun, placed a live round inside of the gun, closed the gun, gave the gun to Alec Baldwin. And then he, in the process, I mean, I would assume, maybe he has no training with firearms whatsoever. And again, I'm not a gun guy, so I don't know everything exactly. But you have to cock the gun and fire the gun. And at no point does anybody check the gun itself and the actual chambers in which the rounds were inserted. Where the more you think about the chain of custody and the fact that there were all these live ammunition apparently on the set, this live round, which ended up killing this woman and injuring another person, how the hell does all of this happen? It just seems to be an extraordinary series of events here, which have no conceivable explanation, and also why the sheriff is not ruling out charges necessarily against Alec Baldwin.
Yes, against Alec Baldwin or anyone else who was ultimately involved. And that's the key question is, how and why were there live rounds on the set at all?
Right.
And right now, no one is saying what they have found or what they understand in that regard. I was reading, there was an inventory list filed by detectives at the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department that showed, according to court documents, this is from CNN, they confiscated from the scene as evidence a fanny pack with ammunition, 2 ammo boxes with ammo, and also loose ammo from a tray. Like, what? What? I mean, again, I read a opinion piece from someone they call them armorers, who's in charge of the gun safety on the set, and they're supposed to be the ones ensuring that the guns are safe, that they don't have live rounds in them, handing them ultimately to whatever actor or person is going to use them. And they said that the only instance where you would ever have live ammo on a set is in these rare cases where you're maybe like filming a gun safety video for educational purposes. You have to license these guns. You have to register. There's a whole protocol involved to make sure that this never, ever happens. So not only did you have this live round fired from the revolver, killing the cinematographer and wounding another individual, but you apparently had other significant amounts of other live ammo just laying around the set. Why? How did this happen? And then the other thing you layer on top of this is that we know that the working conditions were not good. You had 6 individuals who had just quit. Some of the reports were that they were overworked, that they were tired, they weren't being booked hotel rooms, they were having to drive long distances. So you potentially have some of the people who are involved, and this is a little more speculative, but you potentially have some of the people who were supposed to be involved in safety who are exhausted and not at their best too. So you add that to the mix, but there are some significant missing pieces here right now because none of it adds up. The biggest question is, why was there live ammo on the set at all in the first place? And right now, no one is saying.
And here's the other thing. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, she's the armorer. She has already told investigators under oath, no live ammo is ever kept on set. That's according to her. So either she's lying or somebody else brought some ammo onto the set.
She also is very green. So this is only
right.
her second film serving as armorer. And on the last one, which was her first time doing this, apparently her father also worked in this capacity and was well known, et cetera. So she sort of came up in the culture. But reportedly, on that first film, first of all, she was reluctant to take it because she wasn't sure that she was ready. And then there were apparently some issues with her handling of the guns on that set. Again, reportedly, that was a movie that had Nicolas Cage. One report said that she fired a weapon close range to him. He was really mad because she didn't warn. She just fired at the ground, hurt his ears. So there were issues there as well where people felt that she was sort of too casual and not taking enough precautions with the firearms. But again, these are all reports, and who knows who's trying to throw whom under the bus here. Ultimately, there's a ton of unanswered questions, and I still think we don't have anywhere close to a clear picture of how this horrific tragedy ultimately could have unfolded.
I still, the more I read about it, it's crazy. Among the 600 items of evidence that were recovered, there were 500 rounds of ammunition, some of which were believed to be live rounds, which 500 rounds of ammunition. Now look, maybe some of them are blanks, like all of that. I don't know, like in terms of the terminology and all of that, it's very unclear. But there's a lot of focus too on that assistant director, Dave Halls, who handed the gun to Alec Baldwin and apparently said, cold gun, whenever that happened. And what I also find very suspicious is that Halls, the assistant director, could only remember seeing, quote, 3 rounds, apparently is what he told detectives, and that he should have checked all of them. But he also said he couldn't recall if Gutierrez-Reed had spun the drum of the gun, according to that affidavit, which has been signed by the detective. So clearly, there are a couple individuals here who are under the gun, so to speak, in terms of their investigation. Mrs. Gutierrez-Reed, did she do her job? Why? She says there was no live ammo on set. Well, they've recovered a lot of live ammo on set. Not necessarily she brought it there. We'll see. Dave Halls, he's the guy who actually handed the gun. Apparently, he was also responsible for some sort of gun safety. Previous film people who have been interviewed said there's no reason for an assistant director to even hand an actor a gun.
Right.
So it's already highly unusual that he's even involved in the entire chain of custody.
Yeah.
And then also, look, Alec Baldwin is not being let off of the hook here. What did he know? Did he know about negligence? Did he know about, remember, there have been reports of previous accidental, negligent discharges that had happened on set. So maybe there was some other screwery going on, but something clearly went very, very wrong here, and it resulted in the death of a young woman.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say on the charges, this is from the district attorney, who says, we don't know how those live rounds got there, and I think that will probably end up being the linchpin for whether a decision is made about charges. She says that what they would consider as involuntary manslaughter charges pending the outcome, though those are uncommon in the state of New Mexico. And she explains some of the legal jargon here, that effectively you'd have to show some sort of criminal negligence for involuntary manslaughter charges to ultimately be filed.
Right.
So we'll see where the investigation goes. But according to her, that question of how these live rounds ended up on the set and one of them in that gun, that is the linchpin, in her words, for whether or not charges will ultimately be filed.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.